I've been hiding my secret beauty in the garage in lavish house. I secretly raised a little white fox. I swear it'll spoil it to the heavens, and incidentally drive my wife crazy. Strange events soon unfolded. Every time I sneaked around to get close to my little fox lover, my usually cool wife would act as if she'd been utterly startled. Her face would flush and her heart race. She could hardly catch her breath. The more I fondled the little fox, the more completely greedy it became, until one day, it finally confessed. Honey, I'm actually that fox spirit. That's when I realized my wife is a 1,000-year-old min-tailed fox, the pet fox of all foxes. Turns out to be his alter ego. Later, this little white fox alter ego even gained consciousness. Miss, all I could do was watch helplessly as these two foxes, one big and one little, stirred up trouble. Dear wife, my dear wife, just promise me please. I clutched Bai Ling Bing's arm, hanging onto him like I had no bones. If it's just one, then it'll only keep one. It's just a husky after all. I buried my head in his crook, using every bit of my lifetime's ability to act cute. Just think, one day our home will have a husky, and every day will be a chaotic, joyful mess. Bai Ling Bing was completely worn out by me, and finally showed some reaction. He lazily pushed me off his body, then leaned back on the sofa, stretching out his long legs. He looked casually charming. His red lips were uniquely striking, and his voice carried a playful tone. Who needs a husky? The ultimate house destroyer? You think the house is too neat, right? You'd rather have a fox. I suddenly lost it, just like a cat whose tail got stepped on, springing off the sofa in an instant. Fox, my voice has completely changed. What are you talking about? It's all over the internet. Foxes have such a strong body odor. That smell could knock someone over. I waved my arms excitedly, as if I could already smell that imagined foul stench. It doesn't itch at all. Absolutely not itchy. Our little dog is still better, loyal and cute. Sure, huskies can be a bit silly, but they're so much fun. Bai Ling Bing didn't get angry watching me go off. He just shifted into a more comfortable position, and calmly said, that's because you haven't seen the best yet. Foxes are way smarter than dog. In the following days, my nightmare began. Bai Ling Bing seemed to transform into the global ambassador for foxes, promoting them at all hours, no matter the time or place. Whenever he tried to pitch the idea of fox meals to me, he would pick up a piece of meat, saying, see, foxes just love this. They're omnivores, so easy to care for. While watching TV, whenever he saw Animal World, he'd exclaim, look at how clever that fox is. And just look at how captivating its gaze. Before going to sleep, he'd cuddle his pillow and sigh. Fox fur is 100 times more touchable than this pillow. Hugging it to sleep must feel amazing. I was going crazy. All day long my ears were filled with talk of foxes. Foxes, foxes, foxes. They're so smart. They're clean and know just how to act adorable. So thoughtful and in tune with their owner's heart. They're 100 times better than that goofy husky. Plus, they're very clean, and they don't stink at all. I rolled around on the sofa, covering my ears. Wife, I beg you. I'm sorry. I promise I'll never raise pets again, okay? Let's just live our life as a couple in peace. No more talk of foxes or dog. Anyway, I just want a dog. My prejudice against foxes has already taken deep root. No matter what you say, it won't make a difference. Bai Ling Bing looked at me, clearly frustrated by my stubbornness. I thought he'd given up. My heart had just started to relax. But then he calmly added another sentence. Actually, keeping a little fox really isn't bad. My patience had finally reached its limit. I leapt up from the sofa. I didn't care about our marital bond anymore. I raised my finger, pointed toward the ceiling, summoned all my strength, and loudly declared to the whole room. I swear right here and now. Even if I have to jump off this building, I absolutely will not keep a single fox in this house. My words echoed through the empty living room, resounding with finality, filled with the resolve of a man standing his ground. After finishing, I stood there panting, staring at Bai Ling Bing. A storm of anger or silent cold war. But neither came. Not only was he not angry, he even curled the corners of his mouth into a meaningful smile. That smile was sly and mysterious. Just like the fox he described. He didn't say a word, but his eyes clearly spoke. Oh really? We'll see. The echo of my rash oath still lingered in my mind. When I got home from work, I was still scheming ways to indirectly achieve my goal. To convince my wife to let me adopt a dog. Even if it wasn't a husky. A golden retriever would do. Just as I reached the entrance of a residential compound, lost in thought, a white blur suddenly shot out from the nearby shrubbery. It ran straight to my feet and stopped, then kept licking my hand with its warm tongue. I was startled. Looking down, I saw it was a puppy. Pure white all over, without a single stray hair. Under the evening streetlights, it gleamed like a ball of snow. Its eyes were big, round, and jet black, gazing up at me while wagging its tail furiously. My heart stirred. This puppy is way too adorable, and judging by its appearance, it seemed to be a stray. There was no collar around its neck. It was very persistent. Seeing I didn't respond, it rubbed its little head against my pant leg, making soft whining noises in its throat. But its cleanliness felt oddly unusual, not like the clumsy enthusiasm typical of puppies. Instead it carried a strange, inexplicable charm and intimacy. I crouched down to pet her, when an auntie walking by with a vegetable basket kindly stopped in her tracks. Young man, you like it? I smiled and nodded. Yeah, it's really cute. The auntie chuckled, but then added, sure is cute, but you better take a closer look. This isn't a dog, it's a fox. A fox? My mind went blank, as if struck hard on the head. Every word of my recent oath slammed back into my face. Even if I have to jump off this building. My face instantly flushed hot. I instinctively stood up and turned to leave. How embarrassing. This felt like heaven itself was mocking me. But just as I took a step, my pant leg tightened. I looked down to see the little white fox clamped firmly onto my pants, refusing to let me go. It seemed to know I was about to abandon it. Its big watery eyes looked as if they were about to spill over with tears. It looked at me so pitifully, emitting mournful whimpers from its throat. That sound broke my heart. My feet felt as if they were filled with lead. I couldn't move at all anymore. I hesitated. I examined it closely. Its body was impeccably clean. Its white fur was fluffy and pristine. It showed none of the dishevelment typical of stray animals. I even leaned in to take a sniff. Forget about fox odor. There wasn't even a hint of any smell. Instead, there was a faint scent reminiscent of milk. Who said foxes are smelly? Isn't it rather fragrant? When the little fox saw me stop, it thought there was hope. It bit even harder. It even used its tiny paws to claw at my shoe. That little expression practically had acting cute written all over it. My heart was instantly struck. So adorable. So clingy. So clean. Isn't this the perfect pet I've always dreamed of? Somehow, as if guided by a mischievous force, I squatted down again. Little one, do you have an owner? Then a miraculous scene unfolded. That little fox actually seemed to understand. It decisively shook its head. Its little head wobbled like a little drum. I was astonished. Has this fox become enchanted? I suppressed my inner shock. I tentatively asked again. So, do you want to come home with me? The little fox immediately nodded fervently, its tail wagging even lighter, almost like a tiny fan attached to its rear. I was completely smitten. Looking at such an understanding little fox, my eyes sparkled with love. An absurd thought suddenly crossed my mind. The all-white spirit fox. Maybe one day it could even become a fox immortal, just like in a novel titled My Fox Spirit Girlfriend. I wondered whether I should choose a wife or my fox spirit girlfriend. I quickly shook my head, amused by my own thoughts. What was I thinking? After the founding of the country, becoming enchanted is forbidden. But the temptation before me was too great. Cuteness triumphed, and who cares about oaths or pride? Compared to such an adorable little creature, they mean nothing. I decided to act first and report later. I scooped up the little fox in my arms, determined to raise it in secret. I absolutely couldn't let Bai Ling Bing know, or else he would surely laugh at me for the rest of my life over my vows. I, holding the gentle little creature in my arms, was already scheming in my mind to keep it in the private garage downstairs. Without anyone suspecting a thing, I sneaked into the underground garage with the little white fox like a thief. Luckily, there was no one in the garage at that hour. I opened my garage door and quickly dashed inside. Then I immediately locked it. My heart was pounding like a drum. Yet the little white fox in my arms remained very well behaved, making no fuss at all. It just curiously looked around. I set it down on the floor and began setting up its new home. There wasn't much clutter in the garage, so I quickly cleared out a corner. I rummaged through the trunk and pulled out an unused cardboard box to serve as its nest, and then took out the old blanket I usually used for my afternoon naps. I carefully laid it inside the box for it. After finishing all this, I then remembered the most crucial issue. What does it eat? I patted my head, once again feeling like a sneaky thief. Headed straight to the nearest pet store. Boss, what is a fox? The pet store owner looked at me as if I were an idiot. A fox? You're raising a fox? Aren't there lots of people in the city raising these things nowadays? I mumbled vaguely. It's for a friend, my friend's friends. I'm just helping take care of it. The shopkeeper, half convinced, pushed toward me. Premium cat food and dog food. Foxes belong to the canine family. They're pretty much like dogs, but their habits are somewhat cat-like. You can try both. I stuffed the cat and dog food into my bag, then bought a bunch of water bowls, food bowls, little toys, and returned to the garage. I set up one corner of the garage nicely, transformed it into a luxurious pet suite. Everything was ready. All that was missing was feeding him. I opened the cat food, poured a bit into the bowl, pushed it in front of the little white fox. He leaned forward. His nose twitched, sniffed it, then turned his head away disdainfully. Didn't even touch it. All right, no cat food. I opened the dog food, poured a fresh bowl. Same result. He sniffed it and walked away. He even pawed at it, as if saying, take this stuff away. I panicked this little master couldn't starve on my watch. I scratched my head anxiously, watching him lick his paws in the corner, looking utterly unhappy. No choice left. I pulled out my lunch from my bag. My wife Bai Mingying had prepared this loving bento for me. I'd originally planned to take it home to eat. It contained sweet dancer ribs, stir-fried, vegetables plus fragrant steamed rice. Hoping against hope, I added a small piece of boneless rib meat and held it up to his mouth. The little white fox's nose twitched again. This time, his eyes lit up. He cautiously moved closer, extended his pink tongue and gave it a lick, then gulped the meat down in one bite. Encouraged, I added a bit of rice, mixed with some sauce. He ate it happily. I remembered what the shopkeeper said. His habits are cat-like. Cats love milk. I happened to have some pure milk in my car. I poured it into a bowl. Sure enough, he drank every last drop. After finishing, he licked his lips, still wanting more. I finally figured out how to feed him. From then on, my life became especially fulfilling. Every noon, instead of eating with coworkers, I'd sneak off to the garage to prepare milk and oatmeal for him. Before heading home each evening, I'd also stop by the garage to share half of my wife's lovingly prepared dinner with him. I named him Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai grew very attached to me. Every time I fed him, he was exceptionally well behaved. I recorded him from start to finish. He never acted restless, purring contentedly in his throat. I became completely obsessed. Xiao Bai's fur was soft and silky, incredibly pleasant to touch. My favorite part was petting his belly, a soft, fluffy bundle. Whenever I started petting him, he'd immediately roll onto his back, exposing his most vulnerable spot to me, letting me do as I pleased. He'd hum and whine happily. All my day's exhaustion would melt away. My life turned into a strange routine of 3 points: office, garage, home, after work. I'd go home first to spend time chatting with Ningbing, pretending everything is normal. Then I'd find all sorts of excuses to slip down to the garage. Honey, I'm going down to the car to grab a file. Honey, I'm going down to check if the tires are a bit. And then it was just me and my secret lover, Xiao Bai, having our private moments. We played fetch in the garage, or late at night when no one was around. It'd secretly take him for walks on the lawn in our residential complex. This double life was full of excitement and sweetness, but also filled me with guilt, especially after I came back from the garage. I always felt Bai Ningbing looked at me strangely, with a faint ambiguous smile, full of curiosity, as if he knew everything. But I didn't dare ask. I felt too guilty. I could only reassure myself that I was overthinking things, just paranoia from having something to hide. This secret life of keeping a hidden pet lasted nearly a month, when I noticed a very, very strange phenomenon. Every single time after I played with Xiao Bai, especially after giving him an especially satisfying rub, making him roll onto his back, whimpering happily. Afterward, when I got home, I'd always notice something odd about my wife, Bai Mingying. His cheeks always had a rosy flush, like he just finished running 800 meters. At first, I didn't pay attention, but after it happened repeatedly, even a fool would start noticing. That day, I gave Xiao Bai a good pampering in the garage, gave him a thorough head todo massage. Xiao Bai was so blissed out he rolled his eyes back. Feeling completely satisfied, I returned home. The moment I opened the door, I saw Bai Mingbing leaning against the shoe cabinet in the entryway, his face red as a ripe apple. I finally couldn't hold back anymore. Honey, what were you doing? I walked over and touched his forehead. It's a little hot. Your face is so red. Did you just get back from a sauna? Bai Mingbing avoided eye contact. He pointed toward a new yoga mat laid out in the corner of the living room. His breathing was still slightly labored. Nothing much, just followed a workout video for a bit. Got a little sweaty, kind of hot. I looked where he pointed. Sure enough, there was a brand new yoga mat. But I still found it odd. With total sincerity, I said, who exercises right after eating dinner? That's bad for digestion. You're way too healthy. I didn't think much of it. Figuring my wife had just gotten a sudden burst of enthusiasm for wellness and self-care. Bai Lingbing's eyes darted away. He muttered quietly. It's not intense exercise. Just really tiring. His voice was too soft. I couldn't quite catch what he said. What did you say? Nothing? He immediately raised his voice, pushing me gently inward. Go take a shower already. You reek of sweat. I didn't think much of it. My thoughts quickly drifted back to Xiao Bai. I discovered Xiao Bai loved belly rubs the most. Buried my face in his soft, fluffy tummy, and rubbed hard. He'd roll onto his back in delight, his tail trembling excitedly, purring contentedly. That ultimate softness and sense of comfort made me utterly addicted, completely unable to let go. One evening, I used taking out the trash as an excuse to spend a long time playing with Xiao Bai in the garage again. I gave him the deepest, most thorough massage yet, making little white deer go completely limp, collapsing in my arms, completely motionless. Just when I was fully satisfied, humming a little tune on my way home, I saw an astonishing scene. Bai Mingbing, leaning against the wall, inched his way to the bedroom. His breathing was rapid. He noticed that my eyes were surprisingly filled with triumph. Honey, you've worked out again? I asked tentatively. He glared at me. That look was full of allure, yet carried a hint of seething anger. He squeezed a word out between his teeth. Then, still leaning on the wall, he headed into the bedroom. I stood there, completely stunned. Something was horribly off, like 12 out of 10 wrong. My wife's reaction was as swift as a fox's. Every move timed perfectly. The harder I caressed the little fox, the stronger his reaction became. A bold, unbelievable, even somewhat perverse thought sprang wildly through my mind. I felt my heart pounding as if it were about to burst right out of my throat. Soon enough, an opportunity arose. Once again, I returned from the garage, and just as I pushed open the door, I saw my wife's familiar dazed look after her workout. She was leaning against the doorway, with her arms crossed, and looking at me with a half smile. She didn't wait for me to speak, but instead she took the initiative. Honey, she drawled in a languid voice, with a long, trailing tone. Stop sneaking around. My heart skipped a beat. My legs went weak. I nearly knelt right then and there. The jig was up. He knew I was secretly keeping a little fox spirit. Am doomed to my damned vow. My hidden mistress. Has me finished for? My mind began racing with thoughts about how he'd deal with me. First, he'd sulk. Then surely use my damned vow to mercilessly mock me. I was just about to shed a few tears, clinging to his side to beg for mercy, when I heard Biling Bin let out a long, languid sigh, and continued saying, I know you're keeping a little fox spirit. The 3 words fox spirit were delivered with deep meaning, each word striking my heart like a tiny hammer, smashing into my heart. I froze completely. My mind went utterly blank. Yet the storm I had expected never came. Biling Bin didn't even get angry. He only sighed again. Let's keep her at home, he said. After all, it's so cold in the garage. Poor thing. I wondered if I'd misheard. I suddenly looked up and stared at him in astonishment. There wasn't an ounce of anger on his face. Instead, it held a trace of helplessness and indulgence. Wife, you're not angry? What would I be angry about? He shot me a disdainful look, like that of a little creature with nerve. Oh, how uncouth I am. I was both shocked and delighted, as if I had risen from hell to heaven. I awkwardly scratched the back of my head, like a kid caught doing something wrong, busted by the parents, yet granted leniency like a well-behaved child. All right, thank you, wife. Wife, you're so wonderful. I was nearly moved to tears of joy. Biling Bin looked at my foolish state, and couldn't help but laugh. He walked over, reached out his finger, and pinched my cheek, switching into sarcastic mode. Wasn't it someone who once stood in the living room, swearing that even if they died outside, you will just stain tea? My face instantly turned bright red. He mimicked my tone and exaggerated his voice dramatically. Now look at you. Not only do you miss it, but you even sneaked a fox spirit home behind my back. He Xiang's boomerang hit me right back where it started. My wife exposed my ill-devered oath to my face. Overwhelming shame flooded me. But deep down, I felt more sweetness from being indulged. I could only grin stupidly, letting my wife scold me, unable to say a word in defense. Go on, bring your little lover upstairs already. Biling Bin let go and gave me a shove. I felt instantly relieved, and dashed downstairs like lightning. Xiaobai was officially welcomed into our home. I could finally openly lounge on the living room sofa, petting the fox, as I stroked Xiaobai's soft belly. I marveled at my wife's generosity and kindness. I really married a goddess of a wife. I had no idea at all that this wasn't the end of the storm, but merely the calm before an even bigger one. Ever since Bai came in, the strange incidents didn't stop, but intensified. Before, it was coincidences in timing. Now it's synchronization in space. I noticed that whenever I started petting the fox, my wife sitting beside me would simultaneously blush. The atmosphere in our home grew increasingly subtle and bizarre. That absurd suspicion crept back into my mind. After dinner, the family's usual routine time, I slumped onto the sofa. Bai Mingbing sat to my left reading. Xiao Bai lay on my right, dozing peacefully, a picture of harmony. I watched some boring variety show on TV, and absentmindedly reached out to rest my hand on Xiao Bai's belly, gently kneading without thinking. Xiao Bai seemed very comfortable, letting out a soft whimper, and rolled over voluntarily, exposing an even softer and utterly defenseless belly. I pressed a bit harder with my hand. Almost simultaneously, a faint sob came from my left. I turned to look. Bai Mingbing froze, her breath catching for a moment. The book in her hand dropped with a thud onto the wool, carpet as if she'd been jolted by something. Honey, what's wrong? I asked with concern. Bai Mingbing hurriedly bent down to pick up the book, avoiding eye contact, stammering as she spoke. Nothing. Even she didn't believe that excuse. What could possibly have startled her like this? Electric shock therapy? Really? My eyes filled with suspicion. But she buried her face in the book, clearly signaling, don't ask me. I don't want to talk about it. I had no choice but to drop it. But my suspicions only deepened. A few days later, curiosity finally overwhelmed everything else. I stared at Xiao Bai, sound asleep on the sofa. A bold and mischievous idea popped into my head. I've raised him this long, and still don't know if he's male or female. Besides, my wife's in the kitchen preparing fruit right now. I rubbed my hands together, a sly grin spreading across my face. I quietly crept closer, like some creepy weird uncle. As I reached out to pry apart little white fox's hind legs, I muttered softly under my breath, let daddy take a look whether our little white is a boy fox or a girl fox. Just as my hand touched his furry thigh, before the words had even left my mouth, a loud clang suddenly echoed from the kitchen. The sound was sharp and piercing, as if a metal pot had dropped onto the tiled floor, followed immediately by a short suppressed gasp. I jumped in fright, and turned around, to see Bai Mingbing's face flushed bright red. So red it looked like steam might burst out any second. One hand gripped the cold countertop, the other clutched his chest, his whole body trembling slightly. His eyes held embarrassment, panic and a hint of pleading I didn't understand at the time. At his feet dangled a spatula he'd just been using. In that moment, every coincidence, every single bizarre occurrence clicked together into one crystal clear line. I was now 100% certain my wife's reactions were mysteriously linked, in a precise un-to-un correspondence with what I did to little white. I felt I was brushing against the edge of an earth-shattering secret. My heart pounded wildly, blood rushing through my veins. Excited, nervous, and filled with the thrill of an impending prank success, I decided to conduct the ultimate test. I meticulously crafted the perfect fishing plan. After dinner, Bai Mingbing, as usual, unrolled his yoga mat in the living room. He probably hoped this routine would mask and ease those strange reactions. Just as he assumed his starting pose, ready to begin his mysterious wellness routine, my chance arrived. I sat innocently on the sofa opposite him, cradling little white. This spot offered the perfect view, darling. You do your thing, I'll just play with little white. I gave him a tender, caring smile. Bai Mingbing glanced at me, a trace of barely perceptible tension in his eyes, but still nodded. Perfect, the fish took the bait. I took a deep breath, outwardly calm, but inwardly grinning like a hunter. Showtime. Phase 1, foreplay ear assault. I targeted one of little white's most sensitive spots, his ears, launching a full-scale attack. Using the pad of my index finger, I rapidly and lightly scratched behind his ears, where the fur was short and dense. Little white instantly relaxed, his eyes narrowing in bliss. From the corner of my eye, I locked onto Bai Mingbing on the yoga mat. I saw his eyes close too, long lashes, quivering faintly. His posture unconsciously loosened, his whole body softening. It worked. The timing was perfect. I immediately moved to phase 2. Climax belly feast. I shifted my focus abruptly to little white's softest, most defenseless spot, his belly. My 10 fingers danced like they were playing a passionate symphony, sometimes tracing gentle circles with my fingertips, sometimes kneading firmly with my palms. I even unleashed my secret weapon, burying my entire face into his fur, my nose filled with milky sweetness and softness. I let out an exaggerated sigh of delight. Wow, little white's tummy is so soft and smells so good. Almost the instant my face sank into little white's belly, I clearly heard a soft Bing could no longer suppress it. His face was as red as it could possibly get. I knew the time had come for the final strike. I abruptly lifted my head from little white's fox belly. His eyes shone unnervingly bright. I loudly declared, watching the already disorganized biting soldiers. Xiaobai, you're such a good boy. Let daddy take one last look. Just what are you, a male fox or a female fox? As I spoke, I reached out with both hands without hesitation toward Xiaobai's hind legs, and suddenly forced them apart. Bai Lingbing couldn't endure it any longer. Don't play with Xiaobai enemy. His voice was trembling with sobs, and full of pleading. Husband, ill confess. I sat down, Xiaobai, who looked utterly bewildered in my arms. He was probably wondering why his master acting so strange today. I pretended to stay calm. As I slowly walked over to my wife, who had collapsed onto the floor, I crouched down to admire him, in this utterly captivating state. Then I gently pinched her delicate chin, and forced her to look at me. I gave what I thought was my most wicked yet charming smile, and said, "Go on, my dear wife. What exactly is going on here?" Bai Ningbing's eyelashes kept trembling uncontrollably. He gasped heavily for breath, trying to calm himself down. After a long while, he finally found his voice again. Looking at me, his eyes held resignation, shame, but also, strangely, a sense of relief. I am not an ordinary person. He struggled to say his first sentence. My heart shot straight into my throat. I'm an nin-tailed fox who's cultivated for over 1,000 years. What? My brain crashed completely. Nin-tailed fox, my wife has cultivated for 1,000 years? Putting those words together overwhelmed me with sheer information overload. My CPU literally fried. Seeing my stunned expression, he gave a bitter little smile, and continued explaining. Back when you mentioned wanting to raise a dog, I figured, well, foxes are candidates too, so I thought I'd let you keep a fellow creature. Raise a fox instead. That way, I could also keep an eye on you. But I never expected you'd refuse outright, and even call foxes smelly. At this point, his tone carried a hint of grievance. I was angry and hurt back then, so I wanted to play a little prank on you, and show you just how adorable foxes really are. So I used my magic to create a clone. He pointed towards Xiaobai, still licking his paws on the sofa. That's him. This clone shares all sensory input with me. When he said this, his face turned red again. I can feel everything Xiaobai feels. His voice grew quieter and quieter. So soft it was almost inaudible. So, everything you did to him, touching him, rubbing him, nuzzling him, was essentially doing it to me. Now I finally understood. No wonder he reacted so intense. When I touched Xiaobei's ears, it was like touching his ears. Rubbing Xiaobei's belly was like rubbing his belly. And as for wanting to check Xiaobei's gender, I dared not think further. My own face started burning hot. This is way too intense. Bai Ningbing buried his face in his arms, his voice muffled. At first, I just wanted you to accept foxes. But gradually, whenever you petted him, I also felt really good, even kind of addicted. But then he suddenly lifted his head, his tone turning troubled. In the past few months, I've noticed my empathic link with Xiaobai has been weakening. It's even almost disappearing. He seems to have developed his own thoughts, almost not listening to me anymore. Right now you're stroking him. I feel something one moment, and then nothing the next. He looked at me accusingly. Husband, you should know this teasing. This constant state of uncertainty is actually the most unbearable. Well, I really didn't know that. But it sounds pretty miserable. After saying all this, Bai Ningbing lifted her big watery eyes and gazed at me pitifully. Then, right under my watchful eyes, a soft pop sounded. And from among her jet black hair emerged two fluffy snow-white, pointed fox ears. Those ears twitched slightly from nervousness. She took my hand and pressed it against her flushed cheek, then spoke to me in a voice full of whimpers and extreme coyness. Husband, could you please stop petting that fox spirit? Come touch me instead. My brain short-circuited for a solid 3 seconds. Then overwhelming unparalleled euphoria flooded over me like a tsunami. My wife, a nin-tailed fox who's cultivated for 1,000 years, can even manifest beast ears. What kind of divine plot twist is this? Did I save the entire galaxy in my past life? Not only was I not scared in the slightest, I was so excited I nearly jumped up on the spot. I carefully reached out my hand, as if handling a rare and precious treasure. Gently, I brushed my fingertip against the snow-white. Wait, tiger ear? On Bai Ningbing's head? Oh my god, it's fluffy and warm. The texture was delicate and soft. Even better than the finest cashmere blanket I've ever touched. The instant my fingertip made contact, that ear flinched sensitively, then turned a faint shade of pink all over. Bai Ningbing's whole body trembled too. My heart completely melted. Wife, can you transform into other things too? My curiosity exploded. My eyes sparkled brightly, like a child who just discovered a new toy. Bai Ningbing grew shy under my intense gaze, but couldn't resist my eager expression. She nodded. A gentle white glow enveloped her body. When the light faded, the casually dressed her had transformed into a stunning woman in lavish ancient attire, radiating aloof elegance, and an irresistibly fiery figure, the ultimate fox immortalis. Behind her swayed a huge, luxuriant white foxtail. She lifted her eyes, her gaze bewitching, as if capable of stealing one's soul. Before I could recover from the shock, another flash of light appeared. The cool, mature beauty vanished, replaced by a girl who looked only 17 or 18, wearing a pleated skirt, with pure, innocent eyes. A fox girl. She stood there timidly, nervously clutching the hem of her dress with both hands, her fox ears drooping down. That sight instantly awakened infinite protectiveness in me. Who could possibly resist this level of contrast cuteness? My attention was quickly captured entirely by the fluffy, enormous tail behind her. I couldn't hold back any longer. With a pounce like a ferocious tiger, I rushed forward and wrapped my arms tightly around that big tail. Wow! I buried my face deep into it. Heaven, this is heaven, so soft. The breeze was warm, carrying the unique scent of my wife. Ah, that tickles. Bai Ningbing giggled uncontrollably at my sudden move. Her body swayed along with the base of her tail, making her unable to stand steadily. Our sweet laughter and playful noises filled the entire living room. I held my fox fairy wife tightly, sometimes gently pinching her ears, sometimes playing with her tail, never tiring of it. A whole new world opened up before me. Only now did I finally understand. All those so-called exercises my wife had been doing earlier weren't for health at all. After our empathic connection disappeared, she still craved that sensation of being petted. So she had used magic spells to simulate the feeling herself, which ended up exhausting her completely. Thinking of this, I felt both heartbroken and amused. My silly wife. From this day onward, the hierarchy in our household underwent a complete transformation. Xiaobai on the sofa was utterly dethroned, demoted instantly from my secret lover to just an ordinary pet, and nearly even becoming an annoying third wheel. All my time after work was now devoted to exploring ways to cherish and adore every aspect of my wife's appearance. At bedtime, I finally witnessed my wife's ultimate form, under my gaze full of anticipation and admiration. Binding Bing lay on the bed, and slowly, one by one, 2, 3, unfolded 9 enormous, pure white, snow-like tails. Those 9 tails bloomed like magnificent white flowers, instantly filling most of the bedroom. The sight was dazzling and awe-inspiring, leaving me utterly speechless. Are you cold, husband? Bing Bing asked with a smile. With a mere thought, her 9 tails moved as if alive, wrapping around me layer upon layer in gentle embrace. I instantly felt as though I'd sunk into the softest, warmest, safest cloud in the world. This natural, self-regulating 9-tailed blanket stayed cozy in winter and cool in summer, still carrying my wife's delicate fragrance. This was simply a luxury even ancient emperors could never have enjoyed. I sighed happily, burying my face deep into her fluffy tails, wishing I could lose myself here forever. Bing Bing curled up contentedly in my arms like a satisfied cat, her fox ears occasionally brushing against my chin and cheeks, tickling me softly yet filling me with profound comfort and sweetness. I held her tightly, listening as she recounted amusing tales from her 1,000 years of life. Our daily life grew ever sweeter. Mornings no longer began with an alarm clock, but with a fluffy tail gently tapping me awake. During breakfast, she'd secretly hook the leg of my chair with the tip of her tail. While watching TV, my hand no longer reached for Xiaobai beside me, but naturally rested on my wife's ears, gently kneading them. And when Bing Bing cooked in the kitchen, her big tail would sway unconsciously behind her, reflecting her mood, adorably breaking all the rules of cuteness. I noticed that after my wife took her fox form, she seemed even more sensitive to my emotions. When I came home exhausted from work, she'd use her softest tail to gently massage my shoulders. When I celebrated a successful project, her ears would perk straight up, and her tail would wag like a fan. Amidst this ocean of sweet happiness, only one fox stood out as out of place. That was Xiaobai. Ever since Bing Bing revealed the truth, he was met with my cold indifference. Most of the time, head curled up alone like a fox in the corner of the sofa. With his dark, glossy eyes, he quietly watched the two of us, inseparable as glue. His gaze seemed to carry something I'd never seen before, but I was completely immersed in the immense happiness of having a fox spirit wife. Days flew by quickly. One day, I came home after closing a big project at work. My mood was great, but my body was utterly exhausted. I collapsed onto the sofa wearily, like a pile of mush. Honey's home. Welcome back. You must be tired, came Bing Bing's gentle voice from the kitchen. He was wearing an apron, the perfect image of a devoted wife. He came over and helped me take off my coat, then turned back toward the kitchen to prepare a hearty dinner for me. Everything felt warm, harmonious, peaceful and serene. I closed my eyes, savoring this rare moment of tranquility, when suddenly a white blur shot into my arms at astonishing speed. Oh, it's Xiaobai. He was unusually affectionate today, burrowing into my chest like a tiny cannonball, and without warning, he stuck out his tongue and started licking my face wildly, more proactive and clingy than ever before. I burst out laughing as I gently pulled him away from my face. All right. Xiaobai, why so affectionate today? Out of habit, I cradled him in my arms, one hand stroking his head, the other expertly rubbing his soft belly. But just as my palm touched that warm, plush spot, a sudden tremor shook through him. The little fox in my arms erupted in a blinding, gentle white light so intense I instinctively shut my eyes. When the glow faded, I realized the weight and texture in my arms had changed. The fluffy fur was gone, replaced by warm, soft, supple skin. I opened my eyes. The little fox was gone. In his place sat a lovely fox spirit girl in a white dress, with fluffy fox ears and a bushy tail. Her large eyes were identical to Xiaobai's, blinking innocently up at me. I was utterly stunned. My hand was still awkwardly resting on her stomach. I froze completely, holding this mysteriously appeared stranger in my arms, completely at a loss, my mind blank. Just then, the kitchen door opened. Bing Bing stepped out carrying a plate of fragrant sweet and sour pork ribs, his face still glowing with happy warmth. Dinner's ready, honey? His voice cut off abruptly. He saw the scene on the sofa, saw me, and saw the fox-eared girl in my arms who looked just like him, complete with fluffy ears and a swaying tail. Crash. He slammed the plate down hard on the dining table. The battlefield had been set. Bing Bing planted his hands firmly on his hips, eyebrows furrowed in fury, and stormed over to the sofa. He didn't even look at me, but glared fiercely at the fox girl in my arms. Oh really? His voice trembled with rage. I used my magic to split off, so you could go and guide him, not turn traitor on me. No wonder I've completely lost control over this avatar of mine. Even our empathic link has been severed. So it turns out you cultivated your own spiritual consciousness, trying to steal my man? This little fox spirit in my arms should probably be called Xiaobai now. Facing the rightful wife's interrogation, he didn't back down at all. Not only did he refuse to leave my embrace, he actually clung even tighter. He kept rubbing his little face against my chest, just like before, when he was still a fox. Then, in an adorably sweet and assertive childlike voice, he proudly declared aloud, Daddy is mine. Daddy likes me more. Look, Daddy always wants to get close to me as soon as he sees me, and he loves petting my head. Bing Bing was so furious he nearly jumped out of his skin. No. He rushed forward and grabbed Xiaobai like a little chick, yanking him right out of my arms, and tossing him onto the other side of the sofa. Then he himself sat down in my lap with an overwhelmingly dominant posture, declaring his ownership by planting a loud smacking kiss on my cheek. He turned back towards Xiaobai and issued a supremely confident declaration. Only I, a fox spirit, am allowed in my husband's arm. And my husband clearly prefers stroking this big fox spirit. He also loves it most when I rub against him and leave my scent behind. Looking at these two fox spirits before me, one big, one small, identical in appearance, arguing fiercely.